G'day, everyone, and welcome to the Down on a Setter podcast. My name's Wes Zan, and today I'm joined by Amy Davey. Amy, welcome.
Hi Wes, how you going?
Good. I always think, I always probably start the podcast exactly the same. I'm gonna have to work on that for the next one, I think. But Amy, welcome. You're a previous client of the DUC, and we migrated you and Adam quite a while ago, and now you guys are citizens of Australia. So probably thought we'd just check in and see what life like is in Australia, and I guess your journey to get to where you are now.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Wes. Yeah, it's been a minute.
I bet. There've probably been lots and lots of minutes. So just to recap, Adam was the main applicant. Um,
Yeah,
Yep, as a plumber, the legend plumber. And then you've got Matilda, who's 11, and then you've got Marlo, who's 7, and you've also got the dog now, and you're living in sunny South Australia.
we certainly are. Yeah. So Adam, plumber by trade. Um, we got our visa in 2019, but the journey really began, I think, for Adam many, many years before that, and he spent a lot of years trying to sell me the dream.
How many years? And what was the yeah? How many years was he trying to sell it to you for?
Well, 2003, he came out to Australia on a working holiday visa. Back then, we were just mates. He loved it. These were the days before social media, and I remember emailing backwards and forwards, and he was telling me how much he loved it. And then when he came back to England, when he ran out of money, I think he spent the next few years trying to plan how he was going to get back.
Yep.
Fast forward a few years, we get together, and yeah, I think it was the ultimate dream for him. Really, I took a lot more coming around to the idea, but we got there in
What's
the
that?
end.
What were you sort of like? You found love with a mate, and then you sort of turn around and you go, okay, well, you want to move to Oz. I don't. What was the? How did you do it? How did he get you here?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I was pretty happy with my life back then. I was a police officer in London. I had a great bunch of mates. It just wasn't really on my radar back then. Early 20s. I'd never really done the whole traveling thing. I left college, went to uni, joined the police at 21, whereas Adam had done the whole backpacking, traveling, to America, around Asia, Australia. So for him, it was something that he always loved to do. Whereas for me, it just wasn't on my radar at that time.
Yeah. Yeah, perfect. So what got you started? Because we met you. Did we meet you at an expo? Because
Yes. So
I remember you
yeah,
guys quite well. Because obviously Adam being a plumber and myself being a plumber as well. But um, yeah, we met you at an expo or an event, did we?
yeah. So I think that was May 2018, and I think building up to that, I'd started to come round to the idea. We'd moved a couple of times. I transferred police forces. We'd got married. We'd had the kids, and I think by the time we came to the expo, I think Matilda was about 4. Marlo was maybe just turned 1, and I was getting pretty fed up with life where we were living in Cornwall. The rain, just the lack of opportunities, things to do for the kids and us. And one day, I think we'd had about 2 months worth of non-stop rain, and we were sat sheltering in a coffee shop. And I just said to him, "Let's do it. Let's just look at emigrating." And I said, "I really actually mean it." So we looked on Google and saw there was an expo coming up near Manchester, I think it was, which was nowhere near where we
Yeah,
lived.
that's a massive hike from Cornwall to
Yeah.
that's how far is that?
Oh, it took us a while, but it actually worked out. I mean, whether it was sort of fate that we actually had a wedding that same week, not
Okay.
too far away. So I said, well, how about when we're up at the wedding, we just book an extra night accommodation and we head to the expo.
Cool.
And we pretty much, by the time we finished our coffee and got at the coffee shop, we'd booked tickets, and the idea sort of was planted in my head then that this was something we were going to do.
So, Amy, out of curiosity, are the people's wedding you went to, are they still married?
Oh, yes, they certainly are. Yeah.
Good. So I've got a combo. So it was a successful weekend for everyone then. That's good.
Oh, it was. But the actual when we came to the expo, it was actually Canada that was in my head, primarily. Adam was always Australia, Australia, but we'd been to Canada, and Adam's brother had lived there for a while. So for me, I had it in my head about let's emigrate to Canada. But when we
Why
got there,
Canada?
he loved the idea of Canada, but I think because he'd been to Australia, he just said, "I know how much this will suit our family,
But what
suit
was
our
your attraction
kids."
to Canada, Amy?
Oh, I don't know. I loved the fact that there was the snow. Um, that did really appeal to me. The lakes, the mountains, and probably the closeness to the states.
Okay.
Maybe not so far away from the UK. All things now that actually I'm really glad we didn't choose Canada. Um, Australia is perfect for us, but I couldn't see it at the time. Whereas
Yeah.
Adam obviously could. But I think when we went to the expo, it became clear that actually it wasn't going to be easy for us to get a visa to go to Canada. They didn't want trades. They didn't want plumbers. And I remember Adam saying to me, "Do you mind if I just go and speak to that guy over there at that stand?" And I was getting pretty fed up. The kids were running amok, and I said, "Oh, if you must, but come on, it's been a long day." And the guy at the stand was you, Wes. So
Oh, wow. Well,
he went over and had a chat with you, and we pretty much signed up there and then, I reckon.
good on him. Good on you guys. Well, you can't start. Who are you to get in the way of two handsome blokes having a chat? Hey, Amy.
And
You
I
can't
remember
beat
I was
that.
getting pretty impatient because Marlo, I think I said he was running around, and I just had enough. And I thought, I just want to get out of here. It's not going to work out. Canada's not going to happen. And I think I sort of popped into the conversation that you and Adam were having, and it just sounded like it was all adding up. And I don't think I've ever seen Adam so happy. So.
Yeah. No, it's good, and I like those shows back then. They were like they were good to do, but they're horrible because you have to wait in line for so long. Because we don't charge for consultations, and there's
Mm,
a huge line. And I sort of had this thing that like if someone's prepared to wait in a line and for an hour, just literally waiting
yeah,
in a line, you have to give a pretty good reason why they can or can't migrate and sort of explain the process because they've spent that time into it. And then when you are just chatting to someone and you sort of naturally get along, you're looking behind them, Amy, and you can see the glary eyes of the next person who really wants to
yeah,
talk to you, but they're getting pissed off because I've been spending way too much time with this
yeah,
person. And
yeah.
then you give them that time. They're like long days, those expos. But I think they were really good. Because I know social media has been around, but now social media is probably more prominent than the shows. But yeah, back then they like the lines would have been massive back in
Oh,
2018.
it was, yeah. And your line, I remember it just being so long, and I
Yeah,
was
because
just
we
thinking,
because
oh,
we do
this
the
is going to
skills
take
assessments
ages.
as well as the
Yeah,
visas. It's kind of like a bit silly sometimes people paying another company to send this, to send them to us for the skills assessment. So I guess we sort of do well in that area. All right, cool. So we spoke to you guys. You guys signed up. He did his skills assessment. Okay. He then did his English test. Do you remember what English test score he got?
oh, 100%. Yeah, he knocked it out of the park really, and I remember that being the thing that he was most nervous about. And he had some online tuition, and he was really not looking forward to it. And I think he went to Bournemouth to do that, and
Yeah.
yeah, couldn't quite believe it. I don't think when
Well, it
yeah
sounds
he
like he
came back with
prepared
hundred
himself.
percent.
Like it sounds like he
Oh
prepared
yeah,
himself because the English test is like it's a hard for so many people. It's like it's the biggest deterrent and it's one of the biggest hurdles. But at the end of the day, it's not teaching you how to read, write, speak, and listen again. It's teaching you how to pass the exam. I
absolutely.
think
Yeah,
I think we'll end up doing a podcast just with like five or someone, one of our assessors, just to get more of an understanding of it. But it's such a hurdle, and for because I speak to lots of blokes, I guess when they're tradies and all that about migrating, they just get so anxious. Like they think they've got to be
yeah,
super academic, but it is just about learning how to read, write, and speak and listen. But credit to him because he did tuition before he went in there, and that's no surprise that he got the result that he aimed for, which then, as I know, and you obviously know, led to a 190 visa.
yes, it did. Yeah, that was pretty lucky, really. I remember initially we were looking at Queensland, and there wasn't the 190 there. I don't think at the time for plumbers. So the other option was the old 489,
Oh,
which is
yeah,
when
wow.
really that led us to South Australia because
Yeah.
we said, well, okay, where else wants plumbers on the 190? And yeah, thank goodness South Australia wanted us because yeah, couldn't be happier here, really.
And back then, I wouldn't have, like now we're waiting crazy times for immigration, everything like that. Do you remember back then how long roughly it took for to get your visa granted?
Yeah, so it was 10 months from submitting the visa, pretty much to the day to getting it granted.
Yep.
So we started the process obviously just after May 2018. And Adam, he was raring to go. He submitted everything really, really quickly. There was no real delay with him. He just wanted to get it done, filling in the old portfolio, the old cardboard box,
Oh my God, you're going
the
back. Oh, I love
DUC
those days.
suitcase.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry
yeah,
to
that was
interrupt you
that was
there, Amy.
great. And he did it all.
But now we use a client portal, and we're building a new client portal because it's nice to update. And I think qualifications change and visas change. But so we've got another online portal we're building. But I was chatting to Will, who's been with us for a while, part of our skills team, and he actually messaged me just the other day, and he said he sent me a photo that he found of him walking to the post office in the pouring rain, carrying four of those boxes. Because inside the boxes,
Brilliant.
obviously, remember we gave you the folders with all the
Yeah,
paperwork, and would
yeah.
say, "Here's an example. Send it back with this." And he goes, "I used to hate it every day, just walking down there in the rain or the
Oh,
snow." And Will's quite strong, so he was like trying to challenge himself. But he's got this photo with four, and they're quite high, so he could hardly see himself. Anyway, a little memory that I get to
oh,
share when
yeah,
that
they were
happened. That's
great.
a long time ago.
They were great. But yeah, no, Adam was, he was right on it. He did everything, as soon as we could. I think we submitted our expression of interest, and that only took 2 weeks to come back.
Yep.
And then we submitted the visas in the December 2018 and October 2019, they were granted. So it seemed like a long wait back then, 10 months. I mean, I know
Yep.
it's not, since COVID, but back then that seemed like a pretty long wait for us. And we took some pretty big risks really in that process of
What risks did you
changing
take?
our lives.
Yeah. How did you change it?
We
What did you do?
we sold our house.
Oh
So
wow.
we sold our house probably in the UK summer before we had a visa, just not knowing how long the house would take to sell. It sold super quickly. It all went through pretty smooth sailing. So we had nowhere to live. I quit my job in the police because, again, I just thought we've got so much to do with the kids and getting everything organised. I could do without having to go to work every day.
Yep.
So I quit my job in the police. I think it was the end of June. And we lived out of our Sports Direct bags, week in, week out, Airbnb, Premier Inns,
Wow.
until we got our visas granted. So
How long
people
was
thought
that
we were
for?
crazy.
How long were you doing that
Um,
for?
we moved out of our house. I think our house completed in the September and we left in the November. So it was 2 months really, week by week, saying,
Okay.
where are we going to go this week?
And
And we
did you
would
make
just
good
book a.
coin? What when you sold the house?
Oh
Did
yeah,
it
we. Yeah, I mean, Adam, he's got such good vision, and obviously being a tradie, a lot he can do himself. So we bought again the house that nobody wanted, really in our hometown. There was a lot of work to do, and we did a lot to it,
Yep.
and we came out very well.
Oh, so
Very.
Adam built a house. So sorry, going back. So where you were living in the UK, he bought a house and then did that up while you were living there. Looking to do the visa side, was it?
Yeah, well, we bought it before. I think we bought it when Matilda, just as she was born. So we'd had it for a few years,
Yep.
but we like to do projects. So we bought a house that needed a hell of a lot of work, and spent a few years doing that. So by the time it came to sell, it had gone up in value heaps.
Yep.
We always sort of overpaid our mortgage. We were that type of
Heaps,
people,
Amy. That's a
always
bit of an
planned
ugly
for the
word.
future.
Heaps.
Oh, I know. Yeah,
I
I
used to say
forget how
heaps.
much
People
I
be like,
say now
pardon?
that. Yeah, that people probably don't understand because it's just so natural now to say Aussie words.
Yeah, heaps
But
means a
yeah,
lot.
no, we did pretty well, and yeah, we just lived out of our Sports Direct bags, and then the visa came, and we booked our flights that night, and 4 weeks later we landed in very hot and sunny Adelaide.
All right, cool. So you arrive in Adelaide, hot and sun. Do you remember what sort of month? Hot and sunny. So probably what would have been from like what December through to sort of April, like the early
Yeah,
part of
it
the month.
was. I think it was the 19th of November. Our plane actually landed, and I think it was 38 degrees
Wow.
that day. So the heat just hit you like opening the oven door.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, wow, this is pretty warm.
And what was your first feeling apart from being hot? Was it like home, or were you just relieved, I guess, to get off the plane with the kids? Well, how'd
Oh,
you feel?
yeah, it's weird, and I tell everybody this now. As soon as I stepped onto Australian soil, I had this overwhelming feeling of just, I'm home. And I'd
Okay.
never stepped foot in Australia before. It was such a weird feeling. I just felt so at peace, and you knew we'd made the right decision there and then, even though, I hadn't slept for 2 days. I was exhausted, you never sleep well on the flights. The kids did great, but I didn't. And then, but I just felt so happy. I just thought, yes, we've done it.
And where'd you live when you first got there? Where'd you stay?
We stayed in an Airbnb for 4 weeks in Hallett Cove. I'd done a lot of research before we went. That's just a thing I like to do. And I'd cross-reference suburbs with crime rates and cost of living and schools. And that's sort of the area that we thought we'd want to be. So we were there in an Airbnb, got a rental pretty quickly in the neighbouring suburb. And we actually bought within 6 months of being here. We bought a house.
Wow.
And
And that
that's
research,
nearby as well.
the research you did, Amy, that like obviously paid off. Like what you researched was fine. You're very satisfied with where you arrived in that. No surprises.
Uh, no, no, absolutely. I mean, I think I used to spend hours going on Google Street View and looking around the streets and, researching the schools and things to do in the area. And yeah, no, I was pretty confident that, I'd done the research and we were going to be happy where we landed.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. So you bought a house pretty quick. How do you like? Was that challenging? Just arriving? Did you just have jobs? Like obviously you would have surely was one of you or both of you employed to get the mortgage, or did you buy it outright?
We were very lucky that we bought it outright,
Oh
but
wow.
we were big savers in the UK, and like I said, overpaid our mortgage, did well on our house. But the house that we bought now, it was a forced sale through the bank, so it was dirt cheap. I mean, you probably couldn't buy much for it now. It was a guy that didn't want to sell his house and was being forced to by the bank, and he was a bit of a hoarder, so he left everything in his house. He didn't really take much, I don't think, with him, maybe a suitcase. And I don't think anybody else would have bought it. So we bought it during COVID. It was an online auction. We'd had a quick viewing. But other than that, we just went online with the real estate agents and the other bidders and pressed a couple of buttons whilst we were sat down in the evening. And 5 minutes later, we'd bought the house.
Wow. So you said it was like he was a hoarder, and that was it in like have you had to do renovations or anything like that to it?
Yeah, we couldn't actually move in for about 6 months because it was that bad that it was unlivable. So thankfully
Oh my goodness.
we had a 12-month rental. So we bought after 6 months, but we still had 6 months rental, which was great because we just couldn't have moved in. It was full of furniture, it was full of rubbish.
So he
We
took
just spent
nothing. He just
months.
left everything there for you.
Pretty much, yeah. Even all the saucepans in the kitchen cupboards, everything. Wheelie bins full of rubbish in the bedrooms. There were holes in the ceiling, holes in the walls,
Adam would have
everything.
had a field day, mate, fixing that joint up. Has he finished? Yeah,
Oh,
obviously that was a while ago because you're citizens now. But
yes,
has he got it nailed
yeah.
down? Excuse the pun.
Pretty much, yeah. So that was 4 years ago, really, this month that we bought it, and yeah, I mean, he could see the vision. I just thought he was absolutely crazy. And there were times when I just thought we have made the biggest mistake here. I had no kitchen for 2 years. It was in that bad a state that we actually took a sledgehammer to the kitchen and knocked it out. So I cooked off a barbecue for 2 years outside in all weathers. Um,
I
you
guess you
know,
mastered it then, because I interviewed one of the other podcasts we did with old Sharkbait James. He has not mastered the barbecue yet. So, have you mastered it?
Oh, you can pretty much cook anything on a barbecue. I mean, there's not much that I couldn't cook, and an air fryer. I think they're pretty much the two appliances that you can get through everything with. Kids' birthday cakes, everything, air fryer or barbecue. So yeah, no,
You
they're
make
pretty
things in the air
challenging
fryer.
times. Air fryer, oh yeah, but I actually don't have one now. Since we actually have had the kitchen put in, I got rid of the air fryer. I couldn't really look at one again.
Do you
I
still use
actually
the
blew
barbie?
two up from overuse.
Okay, fair enough. But did you? But like, do you still get out there and use the barbie in that?
Oh yeah, yeah. Still, pretty easy, isn't it? Just chuck a few snags on, a few burgers. You can sort of rustle up everything on there. So no, love my Barbie.
Did Adam ever like sort of compare the pair? Like, did he ever say, "Oh God, it was so much easier"? You know, did he make like comments? Oh, in the UK, it was so much easier doing these renos, or was he, or he didn't really comment and it sort of flowed. Even though it takes
Well,
time, but that's what building a house does. Renovating a house just
yeah.
takes time anyway.
The only thing he commented on and still comments on to this day is that he thinks the screws that you can buy in Australia do not compare to the screws that you can buy in England. And I hear a few swear words whenever he's out doing DIY, which is pretty much every weekend. He's up to something. There's always a few swear words thrown in about how rubbish the screws are. So
Wow. Yeah,
that's
telling that's
probably
the
the only
first
thing.
time in 13 years I've never heard that, but, maybe it's a trend. We'll see what the listeners, that are over here think, or the traders over here.
So yeah, other than that, I think it was pretty much, building standards are slightly different, from there to here. But no, I mean Adam's in construction anyway,
Yeah.
now. So nah, he finds it all pretty easy, to be fair.
And, so okay, so what are you working at the moment, or are you not working?
Yeah, so I work. So I was a police officer in the UK. That's all I'd ever done. But obviously, I had to hand in my badge when we immigrated. And out here, I have got a government job. So I work in the court system with domestic violence perpetrators.
Okay.
So very busy.
Yeah.
It's interesting, but it's sort of, I don't need to work shift work. I don't need to work weekends. Don't need to work
Yeah.
Christmases. So I use the skills that I had in the UK, and enjoyable job. But I don't have all the other stuff that comes with it, with being a police officer and the shift work.
And I guess that would have been one of the main, you don't come to Australia and really sort of tend to do the long hours. I know sometimes we're forced to do long hours, but that was obviously part of the plan, was it, Amy, to sort of get out of the night
Oh
shift
yeah,
work and get that 9 to 5 job?
yeah, definitely. Weekends, they are precious. We both work all week, and we make so much of our time here. Every spare minute, evenings, weekends. We just fill them to the brim with things to do. And I think had I still been doing shift work and weekends and nights, we wouldn't have been able to take advantage of that as much as we probably do now.
So give us an example. So weekend comes, like, well, today's Friday. What do you got planned this weekend?
This weekend, so this evening, Marlo, our youngest, he's got a Friday night footy game. So under the lights, he's
Soccer
under
or football?
sevens. Oh, footy, so AFL.
Good on him.
Oh, loves it. He absolutely loves it. So yeah, he's a great little kid. Got a great little team.
So is he Oz
And
kids, or
so
is it actually under sevens?
no, proper under sevens.
Wow.
Yeah. So his first year of playing, proper club footy.
Yeah, so we do under nines in Victoria. Like, I coach the under nines down at Sorrento, and I love it. So
Oh,
do they play in zones and everything?
yeah. So the three zones.
Yeah,
Marlo's favourite. He loves kicking because he's got a bit of a kick on him.
yeah,
But he's actually really good in the middle zone. He's like a real
yeah.
good feeder to and defence as well. So
Good on
he
him.
he loves it. Yeah, absolutely loves it. So that's tonight, and then we'll probably maybe have a drink at the club, the footy club, and then tomorrow Matilda will
Sorry,
have
sorry to
netball.
interrupt you, Amy. I'm just going to paint the picture for the people listening. So when we play Friday night games, well, this is what happens with us, and I assume it's the same. They actually play the proper ground, the full ground, and the lights are on,
Yeah,
and it's like a proper atmosphere. Scoreboard's going, but we don't score over here. I'm sure you guys wouldn't score it under sevens
same,
either.
same. Yeah,
But you got the time clock on and everything like that. You got the umpires, and it's so good, like, to watch the kids out there feeling like, because it's night. Remember, it's a night game. It just,
yeah.
I don't know, it sets the scene. Like, we've only got 2 night games this year, but last year when we did the night games, geez, it was good. Like,
Oh, so good. Yeah, great atmosphere. People come after work, even, kids that maybe don't have games tonight in the older age groups will come down. They'll have
yeah,
the barbecue going, they'll have the little, bar open. Yeah, it's great way to spend a Friday evening.
yeah, cool. So what happens Saturday?
So tomorrow we've got a bit of gardening stuff to do out the front. So we've been completely renovating the front of our garden. So we'll do that. But then Matilda's got netball, so she's away tomorrow, about 45 minutes away up the coast, a lovely place called Grange. So she's playing there. She plays again club netball. She's under 11s. First season for her playing netball. Absolutely loves it. And we'll probably go for maybe a bite to eat, drink. We always try and combine it with going somewhere to have something to eat and drink afterwards. And then probably back to a bit more gardening. And then Sunday for us will be, I think we're going to plan to go off to the hills on Sunday with the dog. Nice
Cool,
big long walk with him. And then again, we've booked some lunch at a nice pub called the Bridgewater. I've not been there, Adam has. And it's a beautiful pub, sort of beer garden out in the hills. So yeah, that will pretty much be our weekend.
I think that's the better part when the boys or the kids, whatever, play a game on the Friday night, because we're similar. Amy, we've got basketball on Saturdays, footy on Sundays if we're not playing on the Friday night. Well, rep basketball Friday nights. It's all about sport, but it's weird because then after the sport, you just shoot off to the local pub or you just go for a bit of a drive. We're, I guess, in a regional area. So there's always nice little pubs you can go to. And it's just weird. Like kids just look at each other with a footy. That's what I find anyway. And then straight away it's a game of marks up or they're just off playing. Like it's so easy. Would you say it's was it hard to make friends when you get here?
No, not really. I mean, I think everyone sort of maybe does the same thing, and you sort of go towards people that have emigrated as well, and you end up in this friendship circle of people that have emigrated because you feel you have stuff in common. But for us, that was fine to start off with, but actually we really sort of moved our friendship circle. We're very heavily involved in surf lifesaving, the whole family. The kids, they compete. Myself and Adam, we've both got a bronze medallion. We're both surf lifesavers. And the surf club is pretty much our life for 6-7 months of the year. So really all our mates are mostly Aussies. They're all...
What do you compete against? It sounds weird. You're a surf lifesaver and you compete. Obviously, it's not working out how many lives you can save. It's not that crazy out in the water. But what are you doing when you're competing?
So lots of events really. So beach events. So there'll be, flags. Where you have a flag pit and you all line up and it's the quickest one to go and get the flags and they knock them down each time until, it's two left standing for one flag. There's beach sprints, long distance runs, and then you've got your water events. So surf teams, which is swimming, board races, so paddling on the boards.
Is Adam doing all this in his budgie smugglers?
Oh, I've tried to get him in the budgies, Wes, but no.
I just picture all these people running around on the beach playing like childhood games, knock the flag down in your bikinis and budgie smudges, calling it competition. But I assume you're getting fit and I assume it's very competitive.
Oh, it is. I mean, Adam competed this year in Masters State Championships and came home with a few medals, and hopefully I'll compete next year. Matilda's competed at state championship level the last 2 years as well. And Marlo will start competing this year. So it does get competitive, but it's a great way to keep fit, great friendship group. The kids got such good friends there. So have we.
Amy, did you know about this before? Was this like a plan when you're sitting back there in Cornwall going, I can't wait to, run around on the beach and just get super fit and do all this? Or was it just something you sort of fell into when you got here?
Well, it's funny, Wes. I don't know if you remember when you used to do the monthly webinars. 1 year, 1 month, sorry, you did one with the kids.
Yeah, we did.
So the kids had to record a little video and send in a clip, and then it was on the monthly webinar. And Matilda and Marlo actually did a little video in our backyard, and I've still got it on my phone somewhere. And Matilda's question to you was, can you tell me about little nippers? I want to be a little nipper when I come to Australia.
Wow.
So for her, that's something she had in her mind that she wanted to do. We were obviously selling the kids, the dream of Australia, and said, well, this is what you can do. You can be on the beach and you can be in the water. And she had in her mind. And that's what she's done. And she's, she trains very hard during the summer. They'll train 6 nights a week, her and Marlo. And she absolutely lives for it.
It's so good. I love seeing kids get fit and everything like that. Like I love it. Like Jed, he's our sports guy. Jax is more of our drawer, and Jazz is just a baby. But yeah, Jed, he'll jump on the treadmill and everything like that if hasn't got something on that
Oh,
night. It's just crazy,
yeah.
isn't it? The attitude
It's
just
so good.
weird.
Yeah. And that's what I love about here so much. And I was actually out walking the dog this morning and I was thinking about, the podcast and I said it's a real sliding doors moment sometimes. I think had we not made the decision to emigrate to Australia, what would our lives be like now, still living back in the town we were living in? What would the kids be like? And I certainly don't think our kids would be as active and as sporty and have as much sort of thrive and passion for life and things that
Yeah.
they do now.
I mean, that's why when you said Canada before, because whenever we go to the expos and everything like that, we have beers and all that with the Canadian stands, and I'm quite good mates with them actually, still. But like it's so different. Like it's totally different because there is snow. Like when I have like
Yeah.
meetings with people from Canada, I'm like amazed. Like I'm quite inquisitive, so I'll actually say, "What do you mean it's snowing?" And they'll show us. And I've been to snow. Like I lived in the UK for a while, so I've seen snow.
Mm.
But over there, it's not just snow. It's like, well, it is snow, but it's just everywhere. Like the guy couldn't
Oh,
even open
yeah.
his door properly.
Yeah.
Like this is a
Yeah.
challenge why he wants to move. And I'm thinking, wow, all these other people go. But my geography is not great. I assume not all parts of Canada is in that deep snow all the time. We've got
Yeah, I think that's what
things.
probably not put us off in the end, but when we had family that lived out there for a bit, they sort of said to us, you do realize that you have to get up every single morning and, shovel all of the snow off of your footpath.
That's nuts.
Because that's what the councils there require you to do. So imagine having to get up, 5 o'clock in the morning before work and it's minus 20 degrees and you've got to stand there for an hour shoveling all the snow off the footpath. I think the reality of that dawned on me and thought, nah, I think I'd rather
Compared
be in the
to
sun out.
Amy, compared to Australia, when you go to spend in summer, I spend like pretty much, I would say, every week and a half. I like my lawns. I like to make my lawns look nice because we entertain a bit. So I'm not pushing snow. I'm bloody mowing lawns in summer. Come winter,
Oh,
you get a bit
I
of a
know.
break because the cold air won't make the grass grow. But yeah, it's so different. So it all comes down for that time when Adam winked at me at the expo. That sliding doors moment.
Yeah.
He was chatting
Oh,
probably with Bo from Canada, and then all of a sudden he spots a
yeah.
fellow plumber and magic happens. Goes from
Yeah.
there, eh?
Yeah. Absolutely, that's what it was, and it was that snap decision really on that day of okay, let's just go for Australia. And like I said, our life now is, just can't compare it to what our life was before. And I think I'm forever grateful for one Adam for having the dream and pushing me towards it, but DUC as well, because I just don't think we would have had that drive and ability really to be able to have done it on our own.
No, and honestly, I mean, you're very welcome because you're such a good contributor to the group and all that as well. But also, like we I love what I do. The fact is that I guess when you're just having a conversation with Matilda about like, hey, what's Nippers about, and you can just explain it, and then that sort of drives her to achieve what she's doing now. That's awesome. Like it's
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
But yous have made. I think yous have made the most of it, and you obviously got yourself in a good position with the properties, and then coming over and then being able to do it and taking those risks and opportunities. So, but what I want to do is just sort of fire a few quick sort of questions at you because, you guys go camping a little bit. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we got the camping bug. We got a camper probably about 2.5, 3 years ago now, maybe. And yeah, any chance we get, we'll hook it up to the car and yeah, off we go. Weekends,
Paint a
long
picture, Amy.
weekends.
What does it look like? So obviously people can picture a car tow and a caravan, but
Mm.
pulling up and that at a site to sort of the weekend. I mean, how good is it when the kids just open their door up and you see that freedom if it's mountains, beaches, and all that. Paint the picture for the listeners.
Oh, yeah, nothing beats it really. So we have a Jayco Swan. So it sort of all folds down really into it. It looks a bit like a trailer. And then you pretty much wind it up and put out the bed ends and off you go. I mean, it's a bit more to it than that. It can take, sort of about 40 minutes to set up, but it's great really. It packs away and fits under the carport. But it doesn't take long to set up. And as you say, once it's up and the kids are running amok, and you pull out your camp chairs, and you have a glass of wine, or a beer, and you just sit there, and wherever you are, whether you're by the beach or whether you're in the hills, whether you're in the southern Flinders Ranges, it's just it's unbelievable, the environment that we live in. And it's cheap. Camping here is,
Yeah, it's
I
awesome.
think it's a really affordable activity to do. You're having a holiday, you're not at home, kids are
Yeah,
having
it's
the
good.
best time, and it doesn't cost a fortune.
Not if you're catching fish. If you're catching fish and eating them, or going, getting crabs or doing whatever, then it's yeah, I love it. Like setting nets and that out, and the kids got to go out there and see what we got. And it's such a great age. Our kids are a little bit, similar sort of ages.
Yeah,
Mine are a little bit young, anyway, whatever, but they're similar ages, so they got all this stuff to look forward to. So hopefully by the time it's probably one of your best memories growing up as an Aussie. Actually, is camping. I know for me and my
yeah,
brother, that's what we didn't. That was our Christmas present. Go away camping for a couple of weeks,
yeah.
and geez, it's just so good. So, all right, one more, couple more questions though. So, schooling and all that. You happy with the schooling side of it? Kids are doing all right.
Yeah, it was all pretty easy, really. Again, I'd sort of made those connections before we came, and sort of emailed the schools and said, can we come and have a look around? So pretty much when we landed, we'd already had, that all lined up. Matilda, she was year 2 in the UK, but obviously here schooling ages are different. So she was a bit annoyed that she had to go back and start year 1 all over again. But actually, it did her well, because rather than worrying about school and did she know everything, she could just enjoy that time of making friends.
Yeah,
And we worried probably for her, more than you should. We've moved her to the other side of the world, and how's she going to cope? And she came out of her first day of school, the biggest smile on her face, and Mum, I've got so many new friends. And she just settled in right away, really. She loves
yeah,
school.
yeah, yeah.
She loves everything about school. Marlo probably loves recess, lunch, and going home.
Yeah.
But he just wants to be running around with his mates playing footy, I think.
Yeah, good on him. Your favourite food?
Oh,
Bit of a random one I've
well,
threw in there, but favourite food?
yeah. I do love a schnitty. You can't go past a schnitty on the menu. I think
I don't.
Australia does that very well. But
Do you
I
smash schnitty rolls? It sounds so basic, doesn't it? A bit of like schnitzel, mayo, lettuce, tomato in a fresh roll for
Oh,
lunch.
nice.
Is
Yeah, it's just simple, a snag, you can't beat it, just a sausage in bread.
yeah.
How simple, but it's a staple part of
It's a
the
staple diet in
Australian
summer for the
diet. But
kids,
for
isn't
me,
it?
yeah, and
Gotta
it
eat.
passes as a dinner. It's perfectly acceptable in our house. A snag that's it's a good dinner option. But I like a platter. I like to go to a nice brewery, a nice winery, and a nice platter. Um,
Cool. Seen
yeah.
any seen any of our Aussie friends? The sharks, the
Mm.
snakes, the spiders. Had any moment with them?
Yeah. I've probably swam with sharks without even really knowing it. The amount we're in the water,
Yep.
it's probably has happened. But actually, within our first week of being here in the Airbnb, I think we saw everything, and I mean everything in the Airbnb. The biggest huntsman I've still ever seen to this day. Um, what I thought was a brown snake, I think it actually turned out to be a legless lizard. And I remember Adam coming running in from the backyard and saying, "There's a croc out in the garden." I said,
A
"What do you mean
croc.
there's a croc in the garden?" It was a very large blue tongue lizard, but he said it was the size of a crocodile. So yeah, that was the first week in the Airbnb, and I thought, oh man, what have we done? There's all this wildlife, within
I
week
think we might
one,
have
but
solved Adam's screw problems. He's not trying to screw in nails, is he? Have a chat with him. If he's getting the
yeah.
crocodiles and little lizards confused, just have a chat. Just make sure he's not screwing in nails.
But actually, since then, I've not seen a snake. Yeah, you see a few spiders. You just stay away from them. No, I've not really seen anything that's caused me too many issues.
Yeah, awesome. Anything you miss about the UK?
Personally, no. I asked Matilda this morning, and I just said, "Oh, is there anything you miss about the UK?" And she said, "No." And then she thought about it for a minute. She said, "Well, actually, Mum, I do." She said, "I really miss a good Cornish pasty."
A
So,
pasty.
yeah, that's she obviously thinks with her belly. Marlowe was 2 when we came. He doesn't remember England. He doesn't remember being there.
Yeah.
He's a full on Aussie. But no, I don't really miss
Surely they'll sell
anything.
somewhere in South Australia, like a good, what do you call it? A pasty?
A pasty,
Oh,
yes, it's not a
pasty,
pasty,
pasty.
Liz. It's definitely a pasty. I can actually make my own. They're not too bad. I'll give them a go, but no, not really. We've tried a few, and I don't know. I found all sorts in them: sweet corn, this, that, and everything else. Things that should definitely not be in a pasty.
Do you make your own? Oh, now I forgot what the word is. What's the things you put with roast? The little round things.
Oh, Yorkshire
Yorkshire
puddings.
puddings. Yeah. Do you make them?
I actually made them on Sunday. I did the first roast. I only do a roast about once a year. And I made my own Yorkshire puddings. I actually made some recently as well, camping. I did those in the air fryer because we do have an air fryer in the camper. And yeah, I made some in there.
Yeah, we always do Sunday roast for the kids, and all it is when you buy your $10 chook from Woolworths,
Yeah.
they just roast up. My wife just roasts up potatoes. She just makes up the Yorkshire pudding things, puts a bit of gravy, and you can tell my kids are British because they just smash it. Like she puts all the, she puts it all in like the Yorkshire pudding, and then she makes like decent sized ones, obviously, and the kids just smash it. Like they
Oh,
love it.
yeah. Yeah, that's what we did Sunday. Yeah, the chook from Woolies, and yeah, pretty much the same. Some potatoes
It's
and
so cheap. $10 for that, a few
yeah,
potatoes and that. Like it's so weird, isn't it? It's like 15, $20 and you got a
I
family of
know.
5 being fed.
Yeah, so
Um,
good. And leftovers the next day, which were thrown into a curry. So
oh, even better. Gotta start eating at your place. Our leftovers, don't know what happened to them actually. Probably turned into the food for the baby, unfortunately. Poor little Jazzy.
yeah.
Um, awesome. Just before we finish, any advice you'd like to give for anyone who's looking to make the move?
Yeah, I'd say just really, you do you. Just everyone's journey is so different. And,
Oh,
you can't compare one to the next. And I think, if you want it enough and it is your dream, then, just go out there and get it. I know things have been tough for people since COVID and the cost of living, and emigrating now probably looks very, very different to when, we emigrated in 2019. We're probably very fortunate we came when we did. But you do see a bit more negativity now from people saying it's so expensive and it's unachievable, and I still think yes, it's very difficult, but if it is your dream, go for it. Just
I
go for
don't
it. It's you can't beat this place.
I mean, you've been such an awesome person to interview. So thank you so much. And I loved how you said you be you because migration is different for everyone. I don't think the cost and everything Australia isn't changing from what it is now. It doesn't change. You just like let you roll with it, don't you? Like I don't think
Yeah.
it's. Would you say it's changed in the 5 years you've been here? It hasn't, has it? It's still
No, no.
things change, but I don't. I think Australia still has the opportunities it has. I don't think the cost has gone up either. With the cost might go up an extra $40 a year in government fees and a few things. What the annoying thing I think at the moment for everyone is just the timeline that it's taking. But listeners, the
Yeah.
rewards there. Like, it's easy for us to say being over here that, stick with it and everything like that. But I really hope you do because interviewing yourself, Amy, like you guys are set for life now. And it sounds like you're really giving Australia a good shot. So congratulations. Please send my regards to Adam and the kids and all that. And thank you for sharing your moments in Australia. I really, really appreciate it. I'm sure the listeners do. So, guys, that was Amy from South Australia. Amy, thank you again.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Wes.
No worries. Cheers, everyone. We'll catch you on the next one.